Hello and welcome to 10 Minutes with James. Our study this lesson is going to be taken from James chapter number 5 and verse number 12. This is lesson number 9, part number 3. Allow me to read that verse of scripture for you. I'm going to read the King James Version and the New Living Translation. James 5 and 12. But above all things, my brethren, swear not, neither by heaven, neither by the earth, neither by any other oath. But let your yea be yea, and your nay, nay, lest you fall into condemnation. Now, the New Living Translation puts it this way. But most of all, my brothers and sisters, never take an oath. Never take an oath by heaven or earth or anything else. Just say a simple yes or no, so that you will not sin and be condemned. Now, James is telling his fellow Jewish believers not to swear, not to make an oath whenever they are making a statement or a promise to somebody. Now, let's clear up one thing before we go on. I do not believe that he is referring to cursing God or taking the name of the Lord in vain here. That type of thing, that type of swearing, or cursing, as we might say, appears to us in many other places in the Bible. It appears in Leviticus, it appears in Psalms and Proverbs and Isaiah and Romans and numerous other places. We are told not to curse God, not to take his name in vain. I do not believe that that is the type of oath that James is speaking of here. This type of swearing, this type of oath, is referring to making a solemn commitment, a solemn promise, so that you will accomplish something when you have told somebody you will accomplish it. Okay, we give our word, as we say. We give our word that we will do something, and on the surface, that sounds admirable. After all, we are establishing that we can be trusted to accomplish whatever it is that we have said we were going to do. Now, sometimes people say things whenever they make a statement, I'll do so-and-so, or bust a gut trying. Sometimes people will say, I'll do this or I'll do that, come hell or high water. Now, those might be more modern types of oaths than we find in the New Testament, but James is saying to his readers and to us today, don't do this. Don't swear that you will do something. Now, let's ask the question here. Why could that be wrong? Why does James tell his Jewish readers just say a simple yes or a simple no and do not apply an oath after your answer? Now, allow me to remind you of a warning that he gave to businessmen in chapter number 4, verses 13 to 16, just a few statements before he makes this one to the readers. He told business people not to be pretentious when they make their business plans. He told them, do not say, we are going to go to this particular city and we're going to stay there a year and we're going to make a profit. He says to them, what you should be doing is saying, if it is God's will, we will do this or we will do that. In other words, don't presume to override the will of God when you are making your business plans. Now, the same concept holds true here in this portion of Scripture in which James is telling the readers, don't make an oath after your yes or no. Now, if we make a statement and back it up with an oath, then we could be unconsciously saying that we control what we do. It is our abilities, our power, our knowledge, our will that we're going to be relying on. We could unintentionally or even possibly intentionally be leaving God's will out of the situation. Now, let me give you an example of this concept from the life of Peter. Just before Jesus was arrested and taken to the high priest's house, He had been eating supper with his disciples and walking along, talking to them on the way to the Garden of Gethsemane. During that conversation with his disciples, Peter had promised to stick by Jesus no matter what happened. The other disciples were just as eager to promise to support Jesus. Jesus turned to Peter and told him, before the rooster crows in the morning, you're going to deny that you even know me. Now, of course, Peter reaffirmed his commitment to Jesus Christ, as did the other disciples. However, Peter did deny Jesus. He followed Jesus into the courtyard of the house. He went along there because John was known to the family of the high priest, and John gained him entrance into the courtyard. While he was in the courtyard, people questioned him about being a Galilean, about being a follower of Jesus, about somebody who had been in the garden whenever Jesus was arrested. And Peter denied it. In fact, he denied it and placed an oath after his denial and said, a curse on me if I'm not telling you the truth, basically. Now, Peter was condemned in his heart when he realized what he had done. You see, Peter's commitment to Jesus Christ, his intentions to stick with him, were very, very sincere. But something completely different was in store for Peter that night. A lesson was in store for him that he would never forget. Now, swearing by heaven or by earth or by high water or by our own efforts puts us in that position of superseding the will of God. That is why James says to answer with a simple yes or a simple no, and to refrain from putting an oath after our statements. To do so indicates that we are relying on ourselves and not God's will and God's plan for our own lives. That, my friends, is sinning. Now, James would say to you today, if you're going to make a promise about something, if you're going to make a statement about something, and you feel like putting a by heaven after it, don't. It's my prayer that these lessons that we're having on the study of the book of James are a blessing to you. Allow me to encourage you to visit our church website, westvillag.org. You'll find transcripts of these lessons posted there so that you can read them again and do any special studying that you would like to do on your own connected to the book of James. I also would like to invite you to join us on Sunday mornings at 10:30 when we are on Facebook Live for our Sunday morning worship service. You'll hear singing. You'll hear us praying. You can participate with us in those things. I'll have a message. And this year, our messages are coming from a primary focus on moving in a new direction. I've been preaching to the folks at our congregation and online about how we haven't been this way before. And there's some things we need to know. My last message was about hindrances that we would have to overcome and how we can overcome those hindrances. I look forward to seeing you in the comments. Let me encourage you to like our Facebook page and our website. May God richly bless you is our prayer.